Hello and welcome again to the theMSAG online UKCAT course. In this video, we will cover how best to strengthen or weaken an argument in the verbal reasoning subtest of the UKCAT. These are the type of newer reader comprehension questions that many students fear, but not you. We will show you how to refashion your thinking to best match what the test is looking for. Over the course of this video, we will focus on how to channel your own common sense to answer, strengthen and weaken questions, and avoid jargon to tell you in plain English how best to get to the correct answer quickly. At this point, we could launch a 20-minute discussion about how an argument rests on the premises and evidence, but let's avoid that and focus on common sense. An argument is a statement that is used to get you to believe a conclusion. A strong argument, based on flawless logic and unchallenged evidence, will very likely convince someone of the conclusion. A weak argument, using dodgy logic and opinions, rather than evidence, is unlikely to convince anyone of the conclusion. The UKCAT will occasionally ask you to strengthen or weaken an argument, but how would you do that? There are two main tactics to implement. First and foremost, you need to use your common sense and find out what the problem with the argument is. All arguments have some inherent weaknesses. Then, if the question is a weaken question, your job is to pick the answer that best exposes the weakness that you have already found. If the question is a strengthen question, you should choose the answer that best removes that weakness. Second, you need to redefine those two key words in your head. I want you to replace the word weaken with destroy, and replace the word strengthen with prove. Of course, this sets a very high bar for your answers, but it does train your brain to avoid tempting yet insufficient choices, and focus on the most relevant, definitive, and watertight answers. A watertight answer should leave most people with little option but to agree. Let me give you a quick example. Imagine you were told, Peter Smith is the best manager in the Super League because he has accumulated more wins than any other manager, and were asked, which statement most weakens the argument that Peter Smith is the best manager in the Super League based on the number of wins he has achieved? A. Peter Smith lost over 50 matches as manager. B. Peter Smith sometimes lost his temper as manager. C. Peter Smith managed his club in more than twice as many games as the next longest serving manager in the Super League. D. The Spartan Hawks, the club Peter Smith managed, came 6th in the last season in which he was manager. First, see if you can spot the weakness in the argument yourself. Here, you might spot that Peter Smith might have accumulated more wins because his career was longer, not because he was a better manager. If you spotted this, you would then look out for the answer which mentioned length of career or number of games managed. However, if you didn't spot this weakness, you still have a chance of getting this question right. Look through the 4 options and tell me which one sounds the most relevant and watertight. The answer would be C. Peter Smith managed his club in more than twice as many games as the next longest serving manager in the Super League. This argument fatally undermines the reasoning in the argument accumulating wins is not as impressive if you had twice as many matches in which to get those victories. This answer is relevant to the argument and watertight as it presents concrete evidence. The first option, A, Peter Smith lost over 50 matches as manager, is relevant to winning and losing, but it is not watertight as the actual number of wins is never discussed. In other words, this answer appears to weaken the argument by presenting evidence of Peter Smith's losses, but it only harms the argument, it doesn't destroy it. Someone could read this answer and say, so what, he lost 50 but won 500? The answer does not destroy the argument, it's not good enough. The second answer, B, Peter Smith sometimes lost his temper as manager, is neither relevant nor watertight. Losing your temper does not directly relate to being the best manager based on number of wins. The fourth answer, the Spartan Hawks, the club Peter Smith managed, came 6th in the last season in which he was manager, seems relevant, but again, it's not watertight. Evidence based on one season does not destroy the argument that Peter Smith was the best manager based on the number of his wins. Also, 6th out of how many? 6th out of 6 teams is very different to 6th out of 600. You are now ready to tackle a weaken and strengthen question based on a full-length passage.